What's new from Apple? There's the new iPhone 16 Pro, built for Apple Intelligence. And it comes with the all-new camera control, giving you an easier way to quickly access your camera tools. The new Apple Watch Series 10 has our biggest display and our thinnest design ever. And this? It's the sound of active noise cancellation, now available on one of 2 new AirPods 4 models. So quiet. Check out all of the new products and new features at apple.com. You can even buy yourself something new. See apple.com for product availability updates. Apple Intelligence coming this fall.
Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse on your favorite streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. You can follow the Red Treehouse on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, Threads, and Facebook at Red Treehouse Pod. And now you can find the Red Treehouse on Patreon. Join the Red Treehouse community for as little as $3 per month and receive exclusive member benefits, including personal shoutouts, early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and more. Simply go to patreon.com/Red Treehouse. As always, if you have a scary story or topic you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, email redtreehousepod@gmail.com. Important note, sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. A quick Google search for the most important inventions in human history reveals the brilliance and ingenuity of human beings throughout the ages and from around the world. According to Live Science, the top 5 most important inventions are a seemingly impenetrable fortress: the wheel, printing press, penicillin, compass, and light bulb. And no doubt, all of these have shaped the course of human history. But none of these inventions interest me as much as number 6 on the list, the telephone. And I would argue that if one invention could crack the top 5, the telephone is it. The ability to instantly communicate with someone across the world revolutionized business and commerce and contributed to growth and wealth never dreamed of. On a smaller scale, it allows us to communicate with loved ones, friends, and co-workers. As with all technology, most uses were as intended. But there are always exceptions to the rule. Telephones have also allowed the less savory percentage of the population an opportunity to use technology in scarier ways. Stalking, threats, swatting, and more. But let me ask a question. Have you ever thought about the possibility that something otherworldly could grab hold of our technology and communicate through a simple telephone? Because it's very possible that's exactly what happened in 1993 to Gary Sudbrink. Over the course of 2 nights, he and his family received 4 phone calls from a still unidentified caller. And while you may be thinking, it's just a bunch of prank calls, hearing the audio from these phone calls will leave you with more questions than answers. In this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're going to explore a listener-requested story. The deeply unsettling phone calls Gary Sudbrink received over 30 years ago. And we're going to listen as someone or something reaches out. A quick shout out to the host of Chillers and Thrillers, a real-life scary story podcast. As you listen, consider these questions. Were these phone calls nothing more than a well-orchestrated prank? Or did Gary Sudbrink receive phone calls from extraterrestrials, his doppelgänger, or an evil spirit? I'll share the story. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse. Between August 8th and 9th, 1993, Gary Sudbrink received a series of disturbing phone calls from an unknown caller with a seemingly robotic voice. A captain in the United States Air Force, 27-year-old Gary was visiting his parents' home in Long Island, New York. Stationed in San Antonio, Texas at the time, he'd planned a surprise visit to see his family. A visit that he told no one about. Gary safely arrived, and the visit started out according to plan. But things quickly took a turn for the scary. On the evening of February 8th, 1993, Gary called an old friend of his, Mike, with the hopes of getting together while he was in town. During the call, though, Mike told Gary that he knew he was in town because he'd spoken to him the day before. Except here's the thing. Remember, I mentioned that Gary hadn't told anyone of his visit. So it seemed impossible that he'd somehow spoken with Mike the day before and simply forgotten about it. Something else didn't add up. Mike not only said he'd spoken to Gary, but he also claimed he was flying into LaGuardia Airport and that he was getting over a mild cold. Except, none of this was true. Gary flew into JFK and was feeling perfectly fine and not at all under the weather. Mike also claimed that whoever he spoke to sounded exactly like Gary. This was unsettling enough. And as Gary tried to make sense of the situation, another call came into his parents' house. It was sometime around 10:30 p.m., a bit late for phone calls to be coming through. But as he listened in, he became concerned, enough to run to an answering machine and record the conversation. Here is the audio of the phone call.
Yes. I'll tell you who it is.
Hello?
Yeah. Do you want to speak to him?
There's Gary Sudbrink in there.
Yeah, who's this? Steven? Are you playing games with me or what? Huh? Steven, if you're playing games, I'm going to kick your ass.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Huh?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Yeah, this is you, Steven, you idiot. You're pissing me off. Jerk. I'm gonna get you on... Let's see what it says. Review. One new call out of area. Is Steven out of the area?
Are you going to be back from Texas?
Wait, say that again?
You are being impersonated by the other voice.
Wait, hold on. Is Steven out of the calling area or what?
Oh, I know.
What do you mean you don't know? He's in Queens.
Well, who are you talking to?
I don't know who the fuck.
Hello?
Hello?
Is Gary Sudbrink in there?
Who is this? Sounds like a big robot.
Hello? How long are you going to be back from Texas?
What was that again, sir?
You are being impersonated by the other voice.
Oh, be quiet, Alfred. Sorry, would you see that again? Hello? Being impersonated by what voice?
Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Is Gary Sudbrink in there?
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, what is your question? I'll answer it.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long?
You are being impersonated by the other voice.
Right. When am I coming back? Is that your question? Okay, there was a break. Hold on. You want to know when I'm coming back to Texas? Oh, is that your question?
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long am I going to be back from Texas? That question doesn't make any sense.
By the other voice.
Okay. I'll be coming back eventually. I can't tell you when. You should know that question, the answer to the questions, because you seem to know more about me than I do. You know what I'm saying?
Are you an intergalactic person?
Are you a space alien?
Sounds like he hung up.
I can't believe this.
He hung up, Gary.
Did? See if he comes back.
All right, I'll hang up.
The call is unsettling, and Gary appears confused by the caller, whose deep, monotone voice seems inhuman. At first, Gary thinks his brother Steven is pranking him, and he doesn't sound too thrilled at the idea. But the caller then makes a disturbing statement. Quote, "You're being impersonated by the other voice." End quote. Gary tried to review the call information, but was stunned when it showed the caller as being out of the area. He questioned his mother, who did not know if Steven was in fact out of the calling area, even though Steven lived in Queens. By now, Gary was growing increasingly frustrated, stating, quote, "I don't know who the fuck I'm talking to." End quote. Meanwhile, the caller continued after Gary's mother got on the line. She claimed the caller sounds like a robot before Gary's father picked up the phone and entered into the conversation. The caller continued in a strange loop, alternating between a question, "How long are you going to be back from Texas?" and a statement, "You're being impersonated by the other voice." After a brief silence, the caller continued the looping, alternating between questions and statements. Gary tried to answer and expand on the conversation, but didn't have much luck. Then, Gary's father asked two interesting questions. Are you an intergalactic person? Are you a space alien? Then, nothing but silence. The caller had hung up. About 30 minutes later, the phone rang again.
Yes, speaking. Yes. Can I answer any questions for you?
Are you back from Texas?
Not back yet, no.
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
Let me answer. First, you tell me, where are you calling from?
This is Gary Sudbrink.
Yeah, why don't you tell me where you're calling from?
Who is this?
What do you mean, who is this? You should know who it is. It's me, Gary. Wait, let me ask you this question. Where are you calling from? Okay, I'll be back. Excuse me? I can't hear too well. Yeah, it is a full moon out. That's true. Could you identify yourself? Identify yourself. Why are you calling me? Excuse me? I cannot hear too well.
Get on the other phone, it's better.
Hold on, let me switch phones. Okay. Okay, hold on. Now, who are you?
Keep an eye in the sky, he said.
Keep an eye in the sky?
Yeah.
That's what Kenny I talked to him. She had a sighting.
Okay, hold on. Say that. Repeat that again. Please repeat. Okay.
Near Orion. Holy mackerel. Tonight or guess on when? The full moon.
They told
Repeat.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
Okay, repeat last word. I'm hearing static.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
He hung up.
He hung up?
Hello?
The audio in this call is a bit more difficult to understand, as the volume and static make the words almost unintelligible. The caller starts back in on the loop, asking, "Is this Gary Sudbrink?" And, "How long are you going to be back from Texas?" Gary tried to get more information, asking where the caller is from. No matter. The caller went back to the same question, asking, "Who is this?" Gary again asks where the call is coming from. Then, the conversation changes completely. The caller, with a seemingly lower tone, says, quote, "Keep an eye on the skies," end quote. Stunned by the change in conversation, Gary says, "Excuse me," which is quickly followed by the caller stating, near Orion, the full moon. Keeping his cool, Gary continued to ask the caller to identify himself, hoping to gain insight into the situation. The caller stayed in the loop, stating near Orion, before Gary switched to a different phone, hoping to have better reception. Gary continued asking questions, while the caller keeps on the loop. Then, Gary's father asks to speak to the caller, requesting he repeat himself. The caller said, quote, "Keep your eyes on the skies, near Orion, the full moon," end quote. Gary's father asked the caller to repeat himself for several seconds. Then, nothing but silence. The caller had hung up. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. Listen carefully, as the audio can be difficult to make out.
Okay. Yeah, it's taking time for him to talk. Who is this? Stephen, this is not funny, you know.
Brian, it's not Stephen.
What do you mean, Brian?
I mean, Gary.
How do I know it's not Stephen?
It's not Stephen. Hello? I had a UFO experience in West Virginia, which you probably know. And I know that you're an intergalactic person. Can you speak a little louder? Sir? Can you speak a little louder?
Let me speak to him, Dad. I guess, I don't know what...
All right, I'll hang up so you can talk to me. He wants to talk to you.
Okay. Hello, can I help you?
Hello.
Yes.
Gary Sudbrink.
Yes, that's me. Yes, could you please identify yourself? Identify. Yeah, I'm back. I'm in Texas right now. Oh, he asked me a question. No, I'm in New York right now. You know that. Why are you asking me such a question? Yes. Stephen, if this is you, I swear to God, I'm going to be pissed. Huh? I'm trying to listen to him. Excuse me? Okay. Eventually I'll be back from Texas. Could you speak more? Please speak more. I guess it's not Stephen. I believe it because I'm getting static.
Stephen would not leave 3 times.
Let me go on this phone because I can never hear on this phone. Hold on. Okay. Okay, please speak. Hello?
Keep an eye on the sky.
Okay. Should I go out right now?
Right.
Right now? Okay, see, I'm not sure where Orion is now, but we'll go outside.
Show double from you.
It will show double from me. Repeat that again?
This time, the caller took his time in responding. And once again, Gary assumed it was his brother Stephen playing a prank on him. Gary's father interjected, stating, quote, "Brian, It's not Stephen. End quote. Brian is Gary's other brother, and it seems this was a mistake on the part of Gary's father. For Gary's part, he remains unconvinced. Then, Gary's father made a comment about a, quote, UFO experience in West Virginia, end quote, and assumed two ideas. The caller has previous knowledge of this encounter, and the caller is an intergalactic person. The caller continued the loop, this time combining phrases from the first two phone calls. After about a minute, during which Gary thinks his brother is calling him, then, stopping to switch phones, the caller once again said, "Keep an eye on the skies. Near Orion, the full moon." Then, the caller said something new. Quote, "Show double from you." End quote. Surprised, Gary asked for clarity. Then, nothing but silence. The caller had hung up. Gary and his parents would not receive another call on February 8th. But on February 9th, another call came in, sometime around 10:30 p.m.
Yes, this is me. Can I speak to you? Can I ask why you're... Yes, can I ask why you're calling? Can I please ask... Yes, this is. Yes, that is me. Say that again? This planet. Leave? We come. I'm staying right here. To be within this planet. Is this a joke or what? I have to think about that. I'd like to see you. To be contact as the same with you.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been listening to you, and I've had contacts with you.
Government interference? You have? Please explain what type of interference. Okay. Visitations to be disrupted by them. Sun will rise from dark side of world. No.
The sun will rise from the dark side of the moon.
Okay, what branch of the government? What should I do? Is that good for me or bad? They hung up.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
Immediately, the caller started in on the loop. Is Gary Sudbrink there? As Gary acknowledged his presence and asked for clarity, the caller made a startling comment. Quote, "We come to be within this planet. In this planet. We come to be within this planet. To visit the many. To be contacted. The same with you." End quote. Gary seemed surprised and stated, quote, "I have to think about that. I'd like to see you." End quote. The caller continued, quote, "To visit the many, to be contacted, as the same with you." End quote. At this point, Gary's father got on the line and made a startling admission. Quote, "I've been listening to you, and I've had contacts with you." End quote. Then, another surprising comment from the caller. Quote, "Beware. Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them." End quote. The next lines are difficult to make out, but it appears the caller says, quote, "The sun will rise on dark side of moon. World. No. On the moon. Show double from you. Beware. Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them." End quote. To his credit, Gary continued to ask questions and seek clarity. The caller continued the loop. Then, nothing but silence. The caller had hung up. It would be the last time Gary received a phone call from the mysterious caller. There's a few interesting details related to these phone calls. Throughout each, Gary questioned whether his brother was playing a prank on him, and he becomes increasingly agitated and upset at the prospect of his brother pulling one over on him. But there's a context for this frustration. The year before, Gary's brother Stephen claimed to have seen Gary driving alongside him on the highway. The person looked like Gary. The car was the same one Gary drove. And when Stephen looked at his brother driving down the road, the person made a few strange faces at Stephen before driving away. At the time, Gary and Stephen were attending a wedding, and when Stephen arrived, he found Gary and talked to him about the incident a few minutes before. Gary claimed it wasn't him. He was already at the wedding. And even more than this, he'd flown home for the wedding, which meant his car was back in Texas. It's likely Gary had this incident in mind when he picked up the phone, thinking that Stephen was getting back at him for a perceived prank the year before. In the 30 years since these phone calls, theories and ideas abound, with some claiming the calls were an elaborate prank or hoax, others claiming Gary had a doppelgänger or mimic, and still others claiming some sort of extraterrestrial contact. To this day, no one knows the origin of the phone calls or the identity of the mysterious caller. I'll confess, These phone calls leave me really unsettled. Truly, I have no idea if they're real or a hoax, but I'm not sure it matters much. At first I thought it sounded like some sort of voice distorter, but with each successive call, and especially the last one, it just felt off. And coupled with the uncertainty in Gary Sudbrink's responses, the whole thing leaves me unsettled. Out of all the calls, there was one response that made the hairs on my arm stand on end. You are being impersonated by the other voice. There were no context clues in any of the phone calls, so who exactly is being impersonated and what the other voice is, I doubt we will ever know. But that's why these stories are so captivating. They force us to suspend rational thought and embrace the possibility, however unlikely, of a supernatural origin. As we close this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're left with these lingering questions. Were these calls nothing more than a well-orchestrated prank? Or did Gary Sudbrink receive phone calls from extraterrestrials, his doppelgänger, or an evil spirit? I've shared the story. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.